All right, John, we move on to the next look for you. UTSA at BYU. This game pops off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And 15th ranked Brigham Young are massive favorites. They opened up at minus 34. They're now minus 35. And this total is at 63. And when I saw you choose this game as one of your spots, I became very interested. I thought, man, I'm looking forward to hear the data that backs up this play with a huge favorite like this. I'm very curious to see your look. Break it down for us. UTSA, BYU.
Well, BYU is in a situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic where they can have an undefeated 8-0 season. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this game. When you get to the end of the season, and hoping we do, because we all heard the Jets news and that situation of canceling the game in the NFL. If BYU goes 8-0 against a weak schedule, how are they going to be evaluated when they're already ranked this high? Arguably, they're number 15 now. If they go 8-0, they're going to be higher than 15. And if they get into the single digits, then it becomes that issue with the playoffs and how they're going to do that. So in this game, clearly there's no doubt that BYU is going to win this game. And I think because of the ranking, there is a tendency now for them to look to dominate, meaning that they'll do their best to keep Texas San Antonio off the scoreboard. If they limit them to 3 and they win 45-3, it's not necessarily running up the score, but it's margin of victory. So I think this game is one of those. UTSA does have a 3-1 record, but they have beaten. I gotta pull it down here. They have beaten Texas State, Stephen F. Austin, Middle Tennessee State. And with all due respect, those are fine schools, fine institutions, but they're not quality football programs this season. If that, I can say that respectfully to those programs this year. UTSA has also had 4 quarterbacks this year. They've had a ton of injuries at that position. They are starting the kid that played last week, who took over for. Let me just pull that up, Jimmy, and I'll tell you who their names are because it's worth getting into the detail here a little bit. Okay, here's the situation. Of these 4 quarterbacks, the first starter was Frank Harris, and he got hurt, and then he started the UAB game. He got I'm sorry, he started the UAB game. He got hurt on the very first play of the game. Then Josh Atkins came in for Harris and led the Roadrunners to a 37-35 home win against Middle Tennessee State. But they also failed to cover the 6-point spread. The following week, which is the UAB game, I meant to say New Mexico State. I meant to say Middle Tennessee State. I'm off the rails here. So in this particular situation, Atkins got hurt on the very first play of the game in this game against UAB last week, the first play of the game. Jordan Weeks then had to come off the bench, very inexperienced at the college level, and he managed to drive them down the field for a field goal, but then they struggled big time after that. And that allowed UAB to get back into the game and ultimately win it. The Roadrunner defense played extraordinarily well and forced 4 turnovers by the UAB offense, but still that wasn't enough to allow the offense to get going to make a comeback and win the game. So what I'm saying here is I believe that Josh Atkins is starting tonight. And I'm sorry, Jordan Weeks is starting tonight. And if so, I don't think that offense is going to be able to score more than 10 points against BYU. And BYU's offense is clicking on all cylinders. and they know they're better, and they're going to take care of business. So it's very rare for me to take a favorite of this magnitude. It's more likely, if you looked at my records over the last 20 years, there's more 35-point underdogs than there are favorites being bet. However, this is one of those situations that I see, 55-0, 55-3, something of that magnitude. So I feel confident laying the huge amount of wood.
If that is your thought process, wouldn't the under 63 be in play?
No, because the thought is that BYU is going to potentially score a lot of points. They could score 63 on their own merit.
Okay.
So I don't like that particular part of it. I do know there's some trends, though, that do favor these 30 to 40-point favorites and the under. That has worked well over the years. But in this particular game, I'd rather just go with BYU and just let it rip.
Now, when you have giant favorites like this, are you sometimes more comfortable just backing them first half because there's a concern that halfway through the third quarter into the fourth quarter that the second unit comes in and even the third unit?
I give that some weight, but I also believe that that's already factored into the price that we're seeing at minus 35. I think over time, some of my research has indicated that you can have the possibility of a backdoor cover occur, but it's because, how can I say this now? It's more likely of a backdoor cover because of mistakes being made by the favorite. Get lazy and get a punt blocked, pick six, things of that magnitude. It doesn't necessarily matter, or it doesn't necessarily correlate to the first unit offense. So I think, if it's first half line, it's got to be at least 17 and a half. So it's reasonable to think that BYU should be out ahead 21-0, 24-3, 35-3. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it was 35-3 at halftime. In those situations, too, it brings up live betting where you can protect yourself a little bit with a hedge. So if you do get that 42-3 halftime score, you can, if you want to limit your exposure and not get backdoored entirely, you can take the opponent, which would be the Roadrunners, and I would imagine they'd be getting like at least 28 points in that second half if the score was 45-3.
Yeah, I love
these are tough, Jimmy, too, because I don't play big favorites this much. 28 minus 28 and above. It's pretty rare for me to go this strongly on a game. But given their quarterback situation and what the machine learning stuff is saying, there's no reason not to make this one of my many plays.
I like it. BYU and DJ Big Boss agreeing with John Ryan's take here. So we have Virginia Tech +4, Duke -1, and BYU minus the 35. Or did you get better than that? Because it opened at 34.
34 and a half, and that was only half of it. So I'm going to have to, if I want the full-blown bet, I'm going to have to pay up, for the price. But again, if I'm right, I mean, this sounds dumb to say, Jimmy, but if I'm right and the machine learning's right, the 34 or 35 is not going to matter.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.